Today I thought I could talk about fear. And I think in our life, when we experience fear, there's two types of fear. One fear of being, I'm in danger. The activities or choices I'm making could put me in a position where I could be physically hurt, where someone could hurt me or like say something that's hurtful. And that's like one type of fear, of like a fear of like the things I'm choosing, the actions I'm taking could put me into like physical harm. And I think there's another type of fear, of like fear we experience more often, which is just a fear of change and a fear of embracing choices or making choices that are healthy or supportive that we haven't really made up until this point. And usually that fear comes up when either a choice really feels very foreign and very differently from how we've chosen up until this moment or chosen from the past, or it's just a choice that is unlike, just like a choice that is just very, I guess it's kind of the same as foreign, but like a choice that is just rather unfamiliar to us. And a lot of times we have fear about making choices that are foreign but healthy, or moving in directions we haven't really chosen that much because of our own unwillingness or the patterns we're still working on, where we try and resist change to a little bit. And I think most people have grown up in family dynamics where change was something that people only changed when they had to change. People were only changed when change was forced upon them. And we grow up as adults with then some degree of resisting change. And I'd say the simplest way to do this is like, how well are we at sitting with our feelings, right? When we feel overwhelmed, exhausted, stressed, do we sit with it? Do we feel it? Do we experience it? Or do we try and find something to check out, whether it's technology or a substance? And how well, when we're feeling feelings that are uncomfortable, can we just feel them rather than trying to avoid them or push them down? Because our feelings naturally up level us into greater levels of change. They naturally bring more change into our life just by our willingness to feel them and move. As we handle our feelings with maturity, we gain greater empowerment and responsibility and compassion to then, when other people say they're going through hard times, we understand what that might be like, because we have felt feelings that have felt like hard times. And there are certain days, no matter how enlightened you are, how conscious you are, where you are not going to feel that great, just because of things being cleared out of your body, like old repressed pain or memories from your past being washed away, or just limiting beliefs of unworthiness, or limiting beliefs that you can't follow your dreams or can't create the life you would love to live, being cleared out of your body. And on those days when we're going through clearing, we're going to feel like death, because we're feeling the old version, an old version of ourselves, an old part of ourselves that is unworthy or feels unlovable, slowly returning back into the light of wholeness of our heart. And as we do that, we often experience we often hear the voice in our head of that part as it experiences the death, which is, I feel like dying. I don't want to do this. I just want to lie in bed all day. And all we're hearing is the internal part of ourselves that feels unworthy, that feels unlovable, that's being pulled back into the light, complaining and fighting it. And if you hear voices like, I want to die, I don't want to be alive, it's a good, if we feel that often, it might be something to look at our choices. Am I making choices that are supporting my greatest well-being, where I'm really caring for myself? And if we are, and we just have a day every now and then where we hear something like that, we can just say, oh, this must be a day where parts of myself that are unworthy or dark or heavy are being integrated back into my heart. And it's nothing that I did wrong, but it's actually me being up leveled into another level of wholeness, another level of empowerment, and how deeply can I care for myself as I go through this. And one of the things that is going to accelerate the process of integrating into more wholeness is the willingness to change and look at our life and say, what are the things that I'm afraid of that would be healthy, that I haven't changed, that I haven't made up until this point. Maybe it's developing a like exercise routine, finding something that we really love to do in physical fitness, whether that's yoga, lifting weights, running, or if we lift weights regularly, maybe that's finding more balance and stretching or doing mobility work or doing a couple yoga classes. Or if we do only yoga, maybe that's finding a little bit more strength training too, because I really believe that like life is all about balance. And like we are as balanced as the choices we are making. And can we look at our lives of what are the choices that would bring more balance into my life? Do I need to make more time for artistic expression? Because we all are artists, and our artistry actually helps honor our feelings and helps us have an easier time through our feelings, because when we are painting, when we are drawing, when we are writing poetry, we often are expressing how we feel in those artistic expressions, and it helps honor those feelings. And when something feels honored, it softens and it quiets, and it stops resisting the love or the kindness that exists with your heart, and it moves closer and closer to just being the peace and emptiness of love of the heart that it forgot itself to be when it was hurt, or when it was made to feel anxious or stressed out by how others were treating it. And oftentimes our feelings are just little echoes of the past of how we were treated. Or they can even be like how echoes of the past of how a community was treated. Sometimes our feelings aren't always our feelings. Sometimes we're just portals that the feelings of the world are moving through, and it doesn't mean we need to push those feelings down or try and avoid them. But if we're experiencing a feeling, it's a feeling we're meant to love, a feeling we're meant to embrace, and every feeling is a gift, because every feeling we feel and face in whole as and care for ourselves becomes and love ourselves through the feeling brings in greater love and care to our body, that then helps us be more loving and caring to ourselves no matter what we're experiencing. And so our feelings are one of the ways the universe teaches us to do that. And if you felt a rather heavy or hard feeling, such like sadness or grief, as you feel it, as you welcome it, as you say, thank you, sadness and grief, for being here with me. Thank you for being painful. Thank you for being something I don't want to sit with. Thank you for helping me feel something that's uncomfortable, because I know as I feel it, I'm reclaiming more of my power to face life as it is, rather than trying to change it, fix it, or wish it wasn't happening. And so as we look at our life and say, what are the choices I could be making that I'm afraid to make and am I willing to make choices that are more healthy? Maybe it's changing my diet to be where I eat more fruits and vegetables, because most people benefit from eating more fruits and vegetables in their diet. Maybe it's just being willing to be more loving and kind to myself. If you feel like self-love is hard, it's only as hard or as challenging as how little we practice it. And maybe that's the next part of ourselves to practice, is talking to ourselves as if we are like the love of our life. Like we are our soulmate. Maybe we're in a relationship, maybe we're not, but what is it like to just imagine yourself as your soulmate? And if you imagine saying kind words to a partner, imagine saying the most loving things you ever heard to the person you're in love with, can you say it to yourself as well? Because the only way to get good at saying it to other people is to practice saying it with you. And something I've been doing lately as I brush my teeth is I just look at myself in the mirror, and I think maybe I've talked about this in other videos, but it's a good point to make. And just like, I just give myself a bunch of compliments. Like, Luke, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. You have the most beautiful jawline. You have an incredibly handsome face. You are so kind and compassionate, and you lead your life with such a level of respect and kindness and sweetness for every person you come across. And it's such an honor to be able to experience life as you. And I'm so grateful to be able to fall in love deeper and deeper with you every day, because you are such a unique, awesome, incredible person. And it's a blessing to live life as Luke. And I just tell myself that. And you know how I feel after that? Rather good. And rather like, oh, that's so sweet. And what you learn is it doesn't matter if someone else says that to you or you say it to you. And so if you feel like there's this longing in you for it to be loved, or a longing in you for a partner, maybe it's just because you're not showing yourself the things you expect a partner to give to you. And what if you're only going to find a partner who could actually do that for you if you do it for yourself first? Because we attract what we're like, and if we're unwilling to love ourselves, we're never going to attract someone else who's going to be able to love us on the level we would expect, or is going to be able to meet us how we are meeting ourselves, because we attract what we are like. And so for how little love we show ourselves, for how little we meet or connect with ourselves, is going to be the same person we attract in our life who will be wanting to date us. And if you're willing to love yourself deeply, and if you're willing to just take time to connect with you, or be curious in yourself, or do things you enjoy, like you would be hanging out with your partner, or even hanging out with a child, you just treated yourself like you are the most incredible person to experience in every moment, and getting to know yourself and taking yourself out on dates like you would another person, you start to remember what a treat it is to be yourself. And you start to really fall in love with yourself as you are. And you start to find more balance in your life. And the part of yourself that feels like it needs to endlessly search for a partner, endlessly seek for things to be different, starts to soften, because we realize we only needed things to be different for what we weren't giving ourselves in the moment. And we can look at, what are the choices that are healthy that I'm afraid of? And can I make those choices more often, because I'm only going to find more wholeness? And some of the experiences that I've been afraid of, I can give a recent example, and the example like from a little bit further in my past. But a recent example is I did an ice bath in Lake Michigan the last weekend. And when I was with a couple people who were doing it, and there's like a portable sauna as well. But when they talked about doing the ice bath, I felt rather afraid. I felt rather afraid to go think I'm going to jump in this lake in Lake Michigan, when on Monday it was like 0 degrees and there's like ice on the lake, and we're going to go sit in this lake for a little bit. And when I climbed down the ladder and went into the lake, I realized it wasn't as bad as I had imagined in my mind, and it wasn't even painful. It was just my body hyperventilated a little, and then after that it was fine, and it was just like I was sitting in water that was a little cold. And what we realize is our mind blows things up that we're afraid of, because our mind always, we're taught to prepare for the worst. And so our mind prepares for the worst and thinks if this is something this person is afraid of, let me prepare for the worst and blow it up. And it's also our control patterns being like, if the more they're afraid of this, the more likely they're going to not do it, and the more I get to reign as supreme power in this person's life, of keeping them safe by keeping them doing anything different from how they've done in their past. And what we learn is I become free of my control patterns. I become free of fear by my willingness to do things that might be a little scary, but also are healthy and supportive. And there's like a ton of research on ice baths and doing like cryotherapy on how it actually helps your body either like heal quicker. And I've even heard people channel about it, talking about how it can help you embody deeper aspects of your soul, because it's such an intense experience for your nervous system, where it can help you shed old layers. And we learn that the things that I'm afraid of are often things that are just a little bit foreign to us, or things that are choices we haven't really made in the past. And the amount of fear we feel about something is just how foreign that choice is. And another example of like something that I did that I was afraid is like when I was 22, I stopped drinking. And I still remember like maybe this was the first time I was like at a house party, or my little friends my friend's party, and like someone asked me if I wanted a beer, and I was like no, but to say no felt like I was like, it was like a pull, like it just felt so hard to say, but I said it. And there was a part of me that was really afraid to do anything different than how everyone else was choosing, or to be different in a crowd of people all doing choosing something different than I was. And I realized though later, like that really me facing my fear and actually saying what I needed, or what was now in line with my greatest maturity or integrity, actually was empowering. And it's empowering to be different. And it's actually like, if you're thinking about not drinking or taking a break from drinking, like I actually feel like being sober adds such a nice edge to me as a character. Like when people hear like you're sober, they go, oh, like did you have a problem with alcohol? And it adds like a little bit of mystery or a little bit of edge to you, of like people then become curious of why you choose not to drink. And it actually is like it's nice to be different, and we're all meant to be unique. We're all meant to make choices that are unique to us, and being different is actually what's empowering. It's not being the same. And oftentimes when we're trying to be the same, we're just hiding from being a more authentic version of ourselves. And our willingness to face our fear, our willingness to grit our teeth, even if something feels a little intimidating, the first time we try it, or the first no we say when someone offers us something that we're no longer choosing, is actually what helps us reclaim our greatest power, and is our empowerment to change. And what love is constant change. What empowerment is our willingness to change when change comes into our life, or when we feel like we can make healthier choices, making those choices. And if we need to take a week to think about it, or a couple days to think about it, that's okay. We don't have to try and change instantly in the moment. Every time we get a new inspired idea, we have the right to take things slowly. And oftentimes if we do it slowly, it will relax our nervous system enough to actually open up to greater change. And if we're trying to like make a bunch of healthy choices in our life, or realizing there's so many areas of our life that we could improve and work on, can we take it slowly? Can we take it one at a time, and choose it, like whether we want to create greater well-being in our diet, or in our physical fitness, or in maybe greater well-being in like the career we're pursuing, or having more passion for what we want to do in our life, or having more passion in our hobbies. Just pick one and work on it until you feel like that's like where a healthy place for you to be at, where you feel like you've embodied the change you wanted to bring into your life. And then pick the next one. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to do all these things at once. It's like, no, take it slowly, take it one at a time, because it actually will allow our nervous system to open up enough to actually accept the change we're trying to call in. And there will be times in our life when we are trying to choose things differently, that we'll might have to force ourselves a little bit, or force ourselves through the fear. But as long as it's something that's healthy, that's maybe in line with our passion, or we know would be good for us, or is something that can help us find maybe greater peace and healing in our life, are we willing to choose that? And if we have to grit our teeth, that's okay. And that's just our willingness to move in the direction of greater change, no matter how much resistance or how much fear there is our greatest level of courage and bravery to become a better person than our past, or than the past of our ancestors. And really, if you think about someone in your life, you go, I just don't want, like, if you think about someone in your family, you go, I don't want to be like that person. Look at the choices they make the most often. And then if you make one of those choices that they make the most often, like maybe they're alcoholic, maybe they're addicted to technology, if you end up like stop drinking or stop using technology as much, you will find that the fastest way to become different than how someone acted from our past, how someone hurt us from our past, how someone who raised us from our past might have acted, the fastest way to become different from that person is just to choose greater levels of self-care. And we can look at what are the ways that this person didn't care for themselves that I am now ready to care for myself in, and can I work at one at a time the ways that I would like to care for myself more, that someone that hurt me in the past wasn't doing, or someone that cared for me that I don't really want to be like wasn't choosing. And the more we're willing to care for ourselves, the more we will embody greater change, and the more easily we'll have it through any experiences that we're afraid of, that might just be foreign, or might be something that we haven't chosen in the past, because self-care and connection to ourselves is what gives us the confidence to just be ourselves. And really, when we're afraid of something that's healthy, it's just a fear of the freedom and well-being we would find following that choice. And as we follow that choice, we remember that I was only afraid of things that were just foreign to me. And the more I was willing to embrace what was foreign and healthy, the more I found greater well-being in myself. And well-being should be the definition of enlightenment or spirituality. It's not how much you meditate, it's not how much you pray, but it's your willingness to just embody well-being and to take care of yourself like no one else in your past took care of you, or no one else in their past took care of themselves. And as you give yourself greater care, you find your greatest freedom and authenticity to just be yourself. And you find your way out of any control patterns of trying to be like people around you, because oftentimes, a lot of times, a lot of our society is still lost in patterns and choices that are really not good for us. And the more we think about what are the things that I was taught, or what are the things my parents chose that in hindsight I now realize are not really that supportive to actually being connected to my body, or connected to caring for my body, and can I choose better? Because as I choose better, I will find greater love for myself, and I'll find greater love for the people around me, and I will embody the change that this world is ready for, just by my willingness to change and grow by the healthy choices I now choose, no matter how afraid I am. So I hope that helps. Thank you for listening.